What are you? What is your risk version or risk tolerance? What are your goals? And so me telling you all these things, I can go through 10 billion different ways of doing this. I mean, you can look at this here and go, okay, we've got this right here. Guess what? Right here, and we actually looked at this last week. How we were doing this. No, there's your second one. This price is going to drop through, then you buy it on the fall to the bottom. Here's the problem. Right here, it's to the bottom, right? Then it goes back up here. So it drops here to about 460, moves back up to 6,500. How many of y'all would have already been out by the time they pop back up? And yet, continue to fall in after. And so I can tell you all day long, here's this pattern, here's this, here's RSI, here's this, whatever, but it doesn't help you any. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, well maybe I should do it, but what if it doesn't? Wait, what's going to happen if it doesn't? Well, wait, he said this is wrong. So we go here and we give you information about the bigger picture, what's likely happening. Right now, everybody wants to trade 30-minute time frames. Everybody's concerned about what's going on in small time frames. The reality of this, right now, everybody.
Guys, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? All right, perfect. All right, so I'm going to go over some things that I normally look for when I'm thinking about going into a trade. Great. All right. So you had a question. You're looking at Litecoin, right? Okay, that's weird. It should have been the same. I haven't changed any settings, but that's good. Specters mod everywhere. All right. So you told me that you got into a trade on the 12th, right? Well, let's take a look at the 12th. It's basically from... You started a short area, basically, right? Let's see. All of this would be the 12th. Disconnected? Okay, cool. All right, so Litecoin on the hourly was on an uptrend throughout this entire time. I didn't really see any sell signals. Take a look at the 1 hour. All right, so I didn't see any sell signals on the 12th, but let's go back a little bit, go over some examples. All right, so we're going to take a look at this area right here. On the short-term MACD, draw some trend. When there's a trend break on the short-term MACD, it means that there's going to be some sort of acceleration to the other side. Over here, we got a huge outbreak for Litecoin. You sold. Why did you sell? Did you panic sell because you thought Litecoin was going down because of this? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, there's usually more than one signal when it comes to buying and selling. When after we had this outbreak over here, um, so Litecoin made a new high right around here. We can see it on the RSI. We can see it in price action. It went down, then it went back up. It made a higher high on both price action and on both RSI. Right? That's normal. That's fine. That means that there's no weakness in the trend. Like the trend isn't weakening. It's going as it should be. So we get another low. It's a higher low, and then we get another higher high. So we mark this on price action and on RSI. What does that tell us? It's not matching up. It means that the trend is slowing down, right? This is something that I look for. It's called bearish convergence. Okay. Usually, it usually happens more than once. You usually get like two or three. So this one was a little more sudden, and it wasn't really a big drop, right? So I probably wouldn't have caught that one. So we move down, and then we move up again. Okay, this right here is a clear signal. There's one touch here on the RSI. We made a new high. We went down. We kind of double top. We went slightly higher, the closing price, than we did before. And the RSI is a lot lower. So the trend is weakening again. We went down even more. We made a new low right around this area. And then we went back up. This right here just confirmed that we're in a downtrend because we made a high, we made a lower low, then we made a lower high. So anywhere here would have been a pretty good time to short. Let me that paintbrush. Because chances were that we're going to make a new low just based off of that. Thanks. The MACD will help you find trends. It's more for momentum than price action. Okay, that's what you would use it for. The longer term momentum will pretty much signal when you should get in, and this will signal when there's a trend break. So you said you thought it was going to go to 45 and you sold before 48. That's okay. A $2 difference isn't really a very good risk to reward ratio, especially when it's already dropped so much. You need to find something that'll give you the best chances of getting like a high reward for a relatively low risk, and you do need stop losses. That's always important too. Or stop buys in your case. I don't think you use BitMEX, right? All right, so when to buy. Let's go back, see if we can find any buy signals. This one was kind of abrupt. I mean, you can argue that there was like, I don't know, this. No, not even. Actually, never mind. Go back. It's obviously a lot easier to look in hindsight, but you'll see the signs for when it's time to buy, right? Okay. Let's take a look at Bitcoin actually. What's up? for Litecoin. Right, that's fine. Coinbase. This is Coinbase chart. All right, let's take a look at this. When do we find a sell signal? Look right here. We had bearish convergence. Right here, we have a rising wedge forming. Rising wedges are chart patterns. Do you know what a rising wedge is? So do you know what a rising wedge is? Okay, I'm gonna go over it for you. So rising wedges are usually a bearish pattern. The picture. So it's when you connect highs of an uptrend and then the lows of the uptrend, and it starts coiling in together until it gets to near the top, and then it just breaks down. This is what a rising wedge is. We also have the opposite. We have descending wedges, which are bullish patterns. They're reversal patterns, right? So this is what you would look for when you have like an uptrend or if you have a downtrend. Here, I'll just do some examples instead. It's probably better. So right here, this is a perfect example of a rising wedge. We have price going up, right? We have the tops matching together and we have the bottoms matching together, forming this wedge coiling in. So we start looking for more signals that the trend is over. Right. So like I said, this is a perfect example of a rising wedge. Start looking for more signals. Right here is the perfect signal. We have bearish convergence. The trend is weakening. Right after price started going down here, it was a little bit of a signal that the trend was weakening. Maybe it was a good time to close your positions if you were long. I wouldn't say short here because this drop was pretty sudden, but at the very least you would close your position here. Maybe start short if you were you really wanted to get into a short. So, yeah, they do, but you just have to pay attention because it's here. The closer you are to the end of the wedge, the more likely it is that you get a trend reversal. you just have to look for signals. It's not really going to be like a clear cut signal like, hey, it's time to short. But like I said, this one was pretty abrupt. This isn't the best example, but this is a great example of a rising wedge. And this is actually what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I'll look at the Bitcoin chart for you real quick. That's not it. So look, we have this rising wedge forming for Bitcoin right now. I'm looking to see if maybe we can get up here for a good opportunity. But it's still kind of in the early stages, so we have to wait a few more days for some sort of confirmation, because we could still break down at any point. Like we broke that, we hit the top here and then we broke down, so that could still happen. We can keep going down from here. Here, let's take a look at the MACD for that rising wedge that we saw up here. Let's see if it gave us any signals at all. All right, so this trend starts, let me just draw a line real quick. Here, and it ends right here. All right, so let's see if it gives us any signal to get out or to start shorting. So right here, you draw trend lines. It's a pretty decent trend. You would leave this trend line here for a while, even if it starts making a new trend, right? All right, so right here, we broke out of this trend. We started the uptrend, right? There weren't any clear sell signals. That's when we crossed this trend. Breaking this trend led us to going above the zero line, right? So we went above the zero line, and then Litecoin started going up. Volume started increasing for Litecoin, so that's a good sign. Then all of a sudden, over here, this trend, we found support on the trend. We broke below it. Zoom in a little bit. We broke below it right here. This was another indication that we were going to, that the trend was weakening, right? This drop, this break in trend. And then we even broke below it even more, way before we got that massive downfall. Oscillator was pointing that we were going to go down. So right here it's a perfect example that the trend was weakening. Yeah, sometimes it does that, but you have to wait for confirmation. Like usually with the candle close, you'll notice like over here, we had a few hours to confirm that it was going down, but so over here would have been a pretty good place to sell and then just waiting. Because even if it did pick back up, the chances were that as we got closer to the end of this wedge, that we were going to fall down. It's better to buy at a at a buying confirmation. I mean, the volume was this one's a little bit trickier because the volume was increasing with price action, but at the same time, the trend was starting. It was looking weak right around here. So if you're drawing trend lines, do you know how to draw the trend lines? So this is the kind of thing that you would look for. Like I said, some sort of indicator that the trend is weakening, which we got over here. And then we got a trend break. We got two trend breaks. So this was a good indication that maybe it's time to go down. And we got a huge sharp decline down. Is there anything you want me to go over? Me? Oh yeah, I use the RSI very, very often. Or I think you're talking to someone else. Breaking under zero is usually a very bearish sign. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin where we are right now. Right now, we're just kind of hanging around the bottom of this wedge. I think we're trying to get some support right now. We could hit the bottom of this channel though. That's also pretty likely. Take a look at the 4 hour. Yeah, I'm pretty actually for Bitcoin right now, right? What do I see right now for Litecoin? Go back. Okay, so right now, I see for Litecoin. Right now, okay, Litecoin has, we have a low here for Litecoin. We have a high for Litecoin. Then we have a higher low right here. But I don't think we're done dropping yet. We could drop more. We haven't, not enough time has passed to determine where we're going for Litecoin. Let me take a look at this. All right, so Litecoin, yeah, we just crossed the zero line. We're probably gonna keep going down unless this right here starts curving upward, which it does not look like it's doing right now. It looks like we're still getting negative momentum on the histogram right here. Okay. Okay, sure. Does it matter what time frame, or do you want a specific time frame, Spectre? All right, you want me to look at Bitcoin 15 minutes? So after a huge drop like this, the 15 minutes isn't the best to look at. Look, I have to go to this one. All right, you said you wanted me to tell you where I might have made a position. All right, I'm gonna answer Spectre's question first. Take a look at the 4 hour first. The MACD setting should be the same. Let's see. I probably would have entered right after we broke out of this triangle right here. After getting the confirmation right here, it also signaled the trend break on the RSI after getting this triple top. And for the MACD, yeah, it looked like we were gonna break the trend right there. We did break under the zero line, but it was kind of weak until we broke the trend right here. So the follow through actually kind of came before the trend break. Let me see. So depending on how you had your trend lines, is how you would have played this. So over here, we did get a break in the trend, but we also found a bit of support and lagged, but volume was increasing here just a little bit. Three points. You mean, are you talking about the RSI? Because if you're talking about the RSI, we did get three touches at the top of this trend line right here. We had to break this in order to get past this trend line up here. On the MACD. All right. I mean, you just kind of draw the trend lines as you go. Once once it's done curving, or you see some sort of over here, it started curving, but it didn't really follow through. But you would still draw a trend line over here. It's not really necessary. At this point, maybe you would have done something like this. But I mean, really depends if it kept going up or not. You just, I mean, you would draw the trend lines as it happens. So we draw trend lines like over here, and you would just keep going with them, and you would keep adjusting them as you keep going, you know, over time. You keep setting up these trend lines to see if it breaks. So whenever you're paying attention to the market, just draw trend lines and then just keep extending, keep adjusting them, and then that'll help you for future trends for when they break and when they're made. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying like this is like in hindsight, it's always a lot easier to, you know, see where the trend broke, but I probably would have drawn a trend line and then just connected it all the way over here. Even after we went over, I would have kept it. And then after we broke it, since we are in a bear market, we're more than likely going to accelerate down than we are going to accelerate up. So yeah, if you're talking about this, yeah, we broke the trend line here. We did get a little bit of an uptrend, but I probably mm, it did look like it was going. I probably would have gotten out of the trade as soon as it crossed over again over here, and then probably would have started a short as soon as we broke that trend, which matches with this right here. So this one was a lot trickier, but usually it breaks down. So if I went with my TA, well, actually, you know what? I don't think I would have longed actually, because we did get this triple top right here. I probably would have waited for us to close above this trend line before making any longs. That's probably what I would have done. After falling down here, we saw this trend break. We saw a little bit of support, and then we just kept falling after that. Well, so yeah, it is hours later that it did come back down, but I did draw this trend line way earlier, so I probably would have made a decision based off of this trend line alone to long. It looked like a good long was forming over here, you know, coming out of the weekend, or was it still the weekend? Yeah, we were coming out of the weekend. Would have thought, oh, maybe it's going up. Maybe if we close above this trend, it's a good long opportunity, but it never did. So over here was a much better signal. If you weren't in the market, if you weren't like in a trade and you were waiting for some sort of confirmation, this would have been your confirmation. And we even lagged here a couple hours before continuing to drop. Closing below this would have been a great indicator that we were going down. We went below it a few times, but then we just came right back up. Especially over here. It looked like we were going to go lower, but we just came right back up that same hour. Perfect example of a stop loss. Okay. If I did go long here at 6,500, anticipating that we were going to go up based off of the MACD, because we did get this crossover. If I was only looking at this, then my stop loss would have been probably underneath our low right here, around 64.84. But my position wouldn't have been very big though. After I got stopped out, I would have made more trend lines. After we broke this trend right here, after I got stopped out, a couple hours, I probably would have made some sort of short anticipating the breakdown. Because we did get a crossover right here, and we had a couple hours to set up a trade, some more downside. And then my next stop loss for shorting would have probably been up here at 65.42. Above that, a little bit above that, like 65.50. So generally, when you're making trades, you will most likely get stopped out a few times before you actually enter your big trade. So that's why risk management is important. You don't want to get stopped out like 5 times and then lose all your money. You need to do small trades, and so if you do get stopped out, you still have the capital to be able to make another trade after. No problem, man. Thank you for watching. Why did I pick this? Which one, the high or the low? All right, so when you're making a stop loss, if you're shorting, your stop loss should be right around your previous high, because when you're in a trend, you're making um, higher highs, right? Something like that. So if you get into the market, let's say you get into the market right here, you're longing, your stop loss should be under your previous low, like that, because that indicates that the trend is broken and that we started a new trend. So for instance, get rid of that. For instance, if you were to long over here because the MACD told you to long, your stop loss would have been probably over here. You would have longed. Your stop loss would have been at this trend line over here, or at the bottom of this body from this candle right here. Depends what kind of trader you are. And if you were shorting, because if we went above this, it means that we were still in the uptrend. If we went below this right here, it means that we were still in a downtrend. In this case, your winning trade was a downtrend. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. All right, so some time has passed. It looks like we made a higher high right here, right? We made a higher high here, so it looks like we're in an uptrend right now. Chances are we'll probably touch the top of this line here, but not enough time has passed for the other time frames to get a good analysis of what's going on. Because according to the 1 hour, we made a low here, but we're making a higher low on the RSI, which indicates a bearish, a bullish divergence. Okay, the whole concept of RSI being oversold and overbought is actually incorrect. A lot of traders have that mixed up. Just because we go under the 30 line does not necessarily mean that we are. So that's where a lot of traders make mistakes. They start buying in as soon as we start getting into this point. But I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that even though we enter the oversold area, we still keep going down, right? the indicator that you're using, the RSI, is called the relative strength index. So it shows you where the strength of the index is at. So for instance, if we drop under the 30, there's a lot more strength with the bears than there is with the bulls. So we'll probably see more downside breaking under the 30 than we will more upside until we make a higher high, or really a higher low actually. So in this case, we did drop below it, but now we're making a lower low because our relative strength index is telling us that there's more strength with the bears right now. So it's always better to wait for some sort of confirmation. As soon as we make a higher low on the RSI and in price action, then that's a good indicator that the trend is ready to reverse. Ooh, Ethereum is falling a lot. On the 1 hour? On the 15-minute. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, let's get to it. So on this kind of 15-minute chart, it's probably not the best idea to trade. There just isn't enough information. You're basically trading with this information that you have, and that's not a lot of information to go through. So for Bitcoin, a higher low on the 1 hour, 4 hour hasn't closed. Well, you would just wait. Like I said, there's not enough information. Right now, the 4 hour is more reliable just because we have more data for it. So right now, it would make sense for us to get support here just based off of this trend line. Let's take a look at the trends for the 4 hours on the MACD. The MACD shows that we're probably most likely going to keep going down though. At this point, since we went down so much, it's not necessary. It's not really a good idea because we also have some horizontal support right around this area that we've been able to catch. So there's a higher one. What do you mean that it hasn't crossed on the 4 hour? Because it crossed here and it crossed here. This trend broke. see if we can find some music. I'll get bot commands eventually once I figure out how to use Streamlabs and all that stuff. All right, so if you're talking about price action, just wait and see where the 4-hour turns because it's already dropped so much. So a while ago we saw it cross on the 1 hour. Yes, on the 1 hour. Oh, okay, you're talking about this? Video keeps freezing. Okay, the follow through for the MACD. I mean, the only thing the RSI is telling us is that the trend is weakening, as you can see over here. Oops. We're just making lower highs, which matches with the RSI. Still have to follow through for the MACD. The MACD is showing us that we had a crossover to the 0, and we are accelerating down, as you can see. Our trend did break right over here. It looked like it was going to break 8 hours ago, 4 hours ago. It started to break, and then right now we just have that massive follow through for the trend break. You're using 13 as your MACD. Okay, when it comes to the MACD crosses, the bottom one, which is your 5, 8, and 3, is only going to be used for trends. Even if it breaks to the 0 line, you wouldn't consider it like putting in a position. This is only to find trends, breaks in trends, trend continuation. This is all you're using this for. For the top one, this is where you're going to be doing most of your decision making when it comes to entering positions. When a trend looks like it's about to break, most likely the MACD will show some sort of crossover or like MACD cross or crossover below or under the 0 line. Okay, you're using, let's take a look at the hourly. Okay, I'm using the same MACD, right? So for this, yes, I probably maybe would have longed if I was just following this alone, but we have other indicators as well. After we crossed here, we had a crossover and we had a zero cross. Probably would have been better to close any long that you had and then start shorting. Right over here, we have right before we start going down, we have a slight break in the trend. It looks like it tried to turn and go up. The top one is the 13. I'll write it down. Here. So if you're a swing trader, you're obviously following the trend. You're looking to see when trends are breaking, when trends are weakening. That's pretty much how you're going to be basing your next trade off of. So if you see a trend weakening, you're probably going to be taking profit, or you're going to start considering a trade in the direction that you think that the price will go to. There's a cross for uptrend over here. Are you talking about this one? So if you're talking about this cross right here, this isn't a good signal because, like I said, this is only to find trends. Also, when there's a cross, a MACD cross under the zero line and it's going up, it's not the best buy signal. You want a buy signal that happens, something like this, where we get a cross on the upside. The momentum wasn't here for this one, but generally speaking, when there's a cross above the zero line, MACD cross is usually a good buy signal. Yes, when it's below zero, it's just you do get some sort of uptrend, but it's a lot weaker than as a cross above zero. So if you're talking about this cross, this isn't a good signal right here. This is only for trends. This is to tell you, okay, yeah, the bottom one. This one is only for trends. You don't make you don't really look at these MACD crossings for any trades. Okay, this is only to draw trend lines to see where trend's going, to see where trend is breaking, to see where trend is forming. Yeah, even if there was a crossover, even over here, if there was a crossover, like this, oh, that's not good. Like even if there was a crossover right here like this, that's still not a reliable signal. It's not the best signal. You need to look for a crossover that happens above this zero line. So if price were to, for instance, do this, like we were to suddenly go up, right? Like even if we were to suddenly go up, we go above the zero line, we cross, and then we had something like this. This is a much more reliable signal. This is a signal to re-enter the market. As long as it's above the zero line and the MACD is crossing to the upside above the zero line, it's a good signal. Yeah, if you wanted to buy in, it's better to buy in when we're either crossing the zero line on the longer term MACD, which is this one. So once we start crossing that zero line, that's a good buy signal. Oops. Yeah, exactly. You need a good reliable signal because you can buy when the price is going up, but if you're buying when we're super bearish and price is going up, then chances are that you're gonna lose your money because even in a downtrend, we do have to go up. Prices do make lower highs in a downtrend. That's just how the trend is. Okay, good. I'm glad you have more clarification. So obviously, when you're making a trade on the hourly, the 15 or the 4 hour, the higher the time frame, the trade, the longer you can probably leave it in, if you know it's a winning trade. If for instance, if you're trading on the hourly and you can't really expect like huge price jumps. You have to kind of consider how far can price really go on the hourly based off of previous price action. So just be careful with your sizes, the price sizes, and the duration. I'm gonna take a look at Ethereum real quick. Yeah, you don't want to try to time bottoms or tops. Yeah, that's what Bitcoin does. if we can't break this trend line right here, we'll probably get something like this, where it looked like we'll start moving up, but something like that. I like at the lens mixed up. Yes. Exactly when you'll buy in. All right. So the reason why I think buying Bitcoin at 10,000 is a good thing for the because mainly because of this right here, right? When we made it to 10,000 last time, almost 10,000. So when we got rejected over here at 10,000, we got rejected by the 200-day moving average. That was a very key point. So I think that if we go above this point, it'll mean that we've gone above moving averages, as well as we would have already started a new uptrend. So right now we're in a downtrend. We're not making any new highs. If we go above this, we're making new highs, and even if we go, probably gonna make higher lows rather than lower lows like we are right now. Not really right now, but that's just when I think the best time to buy is, because I think after that point, the chances are, it's not 100%, but the chances are that Bitcoin will continue to go up because the trend going upward is just stronger. So that's why I think that. Because right now, yeah, you could buy in right now, but the chances are that Bitcoin will just keep dropping, and you'll have to wait out that entire time. And most people like getting into Bitcoin, they're not going to wait around watching watching the price of Bitcoin go down. They're going to probably sell at a loss, and it'll go back up, and they're going to have to buy in with not as much capital. Also, like while Bitcoin is going down, you can have your money in something else. It's better to buy in when there's a clear indication that we're going up. So right now, there is no clear indication that we're going up. But like I said, above 10,000 would be a clear indication that we're going up. That's just what I think. Now starting. I'll join you. I'll join you for Flip Cup.